Imagine packing your bags, booking your flights, and then finding out you're not even allowed in. Imagine being stopped at the border with no explanation, just a cold, hard, you can't enter. It's the stuff of nightmares for travelers everywhere. What if you were stopped at the border with no explanation? Yep, several countries have officially closed their doors to Americans. Why? From political drama to cultural clashes, some of these reasons will blow your mind. Stick around, because one country's ban is so petty, it'll leave you scratching your head. Welcome back to Travel Pug, your ultimate guide to travel. The good, the bad, and the downright bizarre. Today, we're tackling a hot topic. Countries that have just said, no thanks, to American travelers. Why are some nations slamming the door shut? What does this mean for your travel plans? And is there any chance these bans might be reversed? Stay with us because we're diving into all the juicy details. And trust me, you won't believe who made it to the top of this list. All right, let's start with Russia. If you've been paying attention to the news, this one shouldn't come as a surprise. The ongoing tensions between the United States and Russia have reached a boiling point. And the result? Americans are no longer welcome. Russia has tightened visa restrictions to the point where traveling there feels like trying to infiltrate a high-security vault. Just recently, new sanctions escalated the situation further, making it even harder for Americans to visit. Why the sudden hostility? It's a mix of sanctions, political disagreements, and let's be honest, a bit of Cold War residue. The Kremlin isn't just saying "niet" to tourists, they're also cracking down on journalists, researchers, and even cultural exchanges. So unless you're planning on channeling your inner James Bond, Russia is officially off the table. And speaking of spy-like restrictions, the next country on our list has its own unique approach to keeping Americans out. Next up, we have China. While not an outright ban, traveling to China as an American has become an uphill battle. Why? Let's just say that the US and China aren't exactly best friends right now. Visa approvals are taking longer, and once you're in, you might feel like you're being watched. Because, well, you are. China has ramped up its surveillance of foreign visitors, especially Americans. From monitoring social media to tracking your every move with facial recognition, it's like stepping into a real-life Black Mirror episode. Remember the story about a tourist who got detained for tweeting something critical about the government months before their visit? Yep, it's that real. Here's a question. Would you trade your Instagram access for the Great Wall? While you're pondering that, let's move on to a country where the bans are more about personal behavior. Iran's inclusion on this list is a mix of political and cultural factors. Americans are technically allowed to visit, but the hoops you'll need to jump through make it nearly impossible. First off, you'll need a government-approved guide shadowing your every move. That spontaneous desert photo shoot? Forget about it. Then there's the dress code. Women must wear hijabs in public, and there are strict rules for men as well. And don't even think about public displays of affection. A quick peck on the cheek could land you in serious trouble. Iran's stance is clear. Respect our rules, or don't come at all. And while you're busy respecting those rules, here's a teaser. There's another country on this list that bans Americans for something as trivial as tattoos. Yep, it's coming up next. Yep. All right, let's address the obvious. North Korea. This country has long been a no-go zone for Americans, and recent events have only solidified that status. Officially, the ban is for security reasons. But let's be honest, would you even want to visit? The restrictions are ironclad. No unauthorized photos, no wandering off your tour group, and definitely no asking awkward questions about Kim Jong-un's hairstyle. If you're caught breaking any rules, the consequences can be, well, let's just say you'll wish you stayed home. But here's the kicker. While North Korea is the ultimate symbol of isolation, the next country on our list bans Americans for reasons so strange, it feels like satire. Welcome to Turkmenistan, a country so secretive it makes North Korea look like an open book. Officially, Turkmenistan's restrictions on Americans are about preserving culture, but let's dig a little deeper. Unofficially, it's all about control. The government doesn't want tourists documenting the country's, let's call it, unique charm. Taking a selfie in front of a golden statue of their former leader? Nope. Filming the marble-clad capital city? Forget it. And if you're thinking about posting a TikTok, you might as well turn yourself in now. Even carrying a drone is like asking for an interrogation. It's not just the statues and cities, even everyday life is off limits for documentation. Want a picture of that adorable street cat? Careful, it might just be considered government property. It's like the country's motto is, welcome, but not too welcome. And speaking of being unwelcome, did you know the entire country once ran out of internet? Yeah, in Turkmenistan, even browsing memes could land you in hot water. It's a place where privacy means everything. And by everything, we mean you have none. And here's the wild part. Turkmenistan isn't even the weirdest. The next country bans Americans for noise complaints. Yes, really. Bhutan's approach is less about politics and more about protecting its environment. This Himalayan paradise has a strict high-value, low-volume tourism policy, which effectively prices out many American travelers. They're not saying stay away, but they're definitely hinting at it. In fact, if there's a competition for the world's most exclusive travel club, Bhutan is likely the reigning champion. Why the high cost? The government imposes a mandatory daily tourist tax that can go up to $250 or more per day. Yes, per day. This tax is marketed as a sustainable development fee. But let's be honest, it feels more like a cover charge for stepping into a fairy tale. The reasoning behind this hefty fee: Bhutan wants to avoid over-tourism at all costs, preserving its pristine landscapes and sacred monasteries. And honestly, it's working. With limited tourists allowed in, you're guaranteed an experience that's untouched, tranquil, and straight out of a National Geographic cover. But here's the kicker. If you somehow try to sidestep the official tourism channels, you're risking a fine or outright deportation. Yep, they're serious about keeping things exclusive. And if you're thinking, well, at least I'll get to experience everything the country has to offer, think again. Bhutan has restrictions on where tourists can go, what they can do, and even what they can photograph. That breathtaking mountain you're dying to Instagram, it might be off limits. Even the internet, which by the way only arrived in Bhutan in 1999, feels like it's on a time delay. So there you have it, a list of countries that have decided to hit the brakes on American travelers. From political showdowns to environmental preservation, the reasons are as diverse as the destinations themselves. What do you think? Are these bans fair, or are they going too far? If this video opened your eyes, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Travel Pug for more jaw-dropping travel stories. And hey, drop a comment below. Which of these bans surprised you the most? Or have you ever been denied entry to a country? We'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure, hopefully in a country that actually lets us in.